Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean and Marc. Here with me, as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, we got a lot to talk about here today. Got, of course, the big news that we kind of knew for a long time. It just felt like we're just waiting for it to finally get announced. Forza Horizon 5 is officially going to the PlayStation 5. And, so it begins. Big the big movers and shakers are finally coming. Let's see how long it takes the other two standard bearers of the Xbox to move over to PlayStation. We also got a lot of moving around. Again, for Sony, it's funny. We talked about this last week. Would there be any repercussions? Maybe there has been already for what's been going on with having to cancel all these live service games for Sony. We'll get into that. Also, um, we will get into video games. Mark's been playing Sniper Elite Resistance. I've been playing Big Helmet Heroes, and I have my review out for Rift to the Necrodancer. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we got some bad stuff going on with EA and BioWare downsizing and some other things as well. So, got plenty to talk about on this show, and we'll get into all of that and more right after this. As soon as Facebook stops telling me there's a problem with the stream. Great. Awesome.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right. So, yes, let's go ahead and get into the housekeeping here really quick. If you watch us live or watch us later on the YouTube channel, you can also listen later on podcasts as well. Anywhere there's podcasts, you can go check us out. Video Games to the Max, we are there. Pretty much right after the show ends, like maybe an hour or so. I try to get it up pretty quick. And then on the video side, it's there instantly as soon as we finish. You can watch live on Mondays if you get the notification. That's why it's good to subscribe, because as soon as we're out up there, even though we're not on Twitch today because the Radless folks are running a show at the moment. But if you subscribe, you get a notification. You can know when we go live and hit that button and watch us as soon as we're up there. But either way, the important thing is that you subscribe, follow all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Go review on whatever podcast place that you listen. That helps out too. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can also get our anime show, the Taku Cafe. Those guys do a great job over there reviewing all the weekly anime, which there's always a lot. So I'm sure many of you will want to check that out. And then, of course, you have Voucher Broadcasting keeping up with all the movies and TV stuff. They're reviewing the movie Companion right now. They just did a review of season 1 of The Bear. I guess they're going to go through all the seasons of that and many other things. So, yeah, that's enough for the housekeeping. Let's start with the something we haven't been done in I think a few weeks now, the video games. Because a lot of times we end up having to like kind of mosey that along because we have so much news to talk about. Which again, this episode is news filled. You've been playing Sniper Elite Resistance,
Yep.
which is on Game Pass for people that want to just check that out. Did you get a code from Adam? I'm guessing, or you?
No, Jens bought it. Started
Okay, so you're
using his
trying it
card.
out with that. Okay,
Yep.
how is it? I've heard it's just a big expansion to Sniper Elite 5. Is that what it feels
Yep.
like?
It pretty much is. Yeah. It's, if you like that one, you'll like this one. I mean, to the point where like even the I think the like skill tree is the same from Sniper Elite 5,
Oh
which is
wow.
I would say a little lazy, but who am I to judge? I guess.
Yeah, but I feel like they're kind of trying to just it was just something quick to be able to put out and continue the Sniper Elite series. Maybe it was supposed to be an expansion directly at some point, and they just did it standalone.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, It's not like terrible. It's not like bad or anything. But I mean, I knew exactly what I was getting when I got when I got this game. Just more co-op sniping with Yens and killing Nazis, and that's always fun, especially in today's climate.
All right, fair enough. Anything else? How goes the? Are you playing more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PC or?
Yeah, I'm in the Coral region right now. I just climbed the top of that stupid mountain, and I remembered like, yeah, there's a lot of filler in this game that you could have cut out.
Fair enough.
But yeah, still good. Or yeah, I like it. Yeah, like it's like when you get Yuffie basically, and I did all the Johnny stuff, although I can't get the Tonberry crown yet, but I will soon. And then
I love that fight, except for figuring out that there's like the Tom Brady crown kind of looks like other things in where you're having the fight, and it's hard to figure out that it's a Tom Brady crown.
Well, you just gotta steal it, but like
Yeah.
it's kind of a random chance thing, or it doesn't. It's not like, oh, you just hit the button and it does it automatically. It's like, no, it can
Yeah.
fail, or you know. So yeah, keep it at that, I guess. But I still like it on PC quite a bit, and I'll keep at it.
I mean, that's all right. That's the way to play the game, I guess, right now. If you're
For
unless
me,
you have it
yeah,
on PS5 Pro. So
yeah. There's like a lot of weird mods for it. Like I saw one that was like a free camera mod, and like the person was exploring Midgar from Rebirth because it's not actually in the game. It's just like some low poly model, but like they were so impressed that even like it being low poly was like good, or still like pretty good for something that's not like in the game necessarily.
yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, I'm sure there are like all kinds of crazy mods if you want to go look for
But
that
I'm not
stuff.
gonna go down that path yet. But maybe when I get done with the game, I will just screw around.
Yeah, always kind of funny to see what the you know. Hopefully, they has. Well, is there really any? Has there been any that kind of like improves the game at all, or just you haven't
I think
kind
there's
of
one that
dabbled in it?
like cuts away. There was like one that like cuts or like makes the I think when you're Barrett and you're in that stupid Jeep.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah, where you're doing
it like
the
it
shooting.
fixes that to not be shitty,
Oh yeah, that was kind
which
of.
would be
I think I
nice.
had to
And like
redo that like 3 times.
yeah, because like they
And
don't really explain what you're supposed to do, and like the fact that you can move, but the game doesn't like tell you like, hey, avoid these bullets or avoid these missiles. Like, wait, I can do that.
I think I even had to do it. I had to do it for the train one with Yuffie, where
Yep.
it's picking between him and Yuffie, and the one where you're after you fight the crazy guy. I can't remember his name right now.
Right.
The weirdo guy that dances on top of the frog. Uh,
Everyone's
boss
favorite.
thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, I just remember having to redo that because I was just like, why is this so finicky and I can't figure out how exactly I'm supposed to be shooting or what I'm supposed to be shooting at, or eventually I figured it out enough to just get through it. So,
Right.
it is what it is
Yep.
there.
So what are you playing?
Speaking of getting through it, that's kind of what I'm doing with Big Helmet Heroes. Um, it's a decent game. Uh, I think it's fine if you play in co-op. Maybe you won't really think about the things that happen a lot with beat 'em ups, right? Where eventually they kind of wear out their welcome. Because you get tired of doing the same motions over and over. The things that help out with this game is that it's totally there to be silly. The characters are silly. Obviously, they all have big heads. The enemies are just as equally just look like them. Um, and the thing that like actually there's like 28 characters in that game, and it's cool to like run into new ones, but they kind of all play similarly. So like
Yeah.
once you played with, and then they give you all the archetypes they give you the kind of two archetypes at the beginning, and then you kind of get the other two archetypes like really quick. So after that, it's like all the other characters look different, but they literally play essentially the same.
Yeah, there's like
It,
yeah, like 3 or 4 classes, but the other it's just like guy's medic or yeah,
so it's just like it's kind of disappointing in a way because you're you're kind of looking forward to that, and then oh man, it's just kind of like oh, it's just another version of the big giant character,
yep,
and it's cool and all, but at least their specials are different. So you do have like that to look forward to, and you get that stuff quick. Like they try to make sure that you can do the specials in a fast way, so you're not having to kind of just button mash X the whole time. Well, I'm playing on Xbox, but same thing
right,
probably with PlayStation. But I mean, essentially, yeah, the backgrounds are kind of all, they kind of meld into each other. They have different settings. The thing is the game, it's an indie game also. So it's like you could definitely feel that it's an indie game. It's janky and it has problems with the camera where you're fighting enemies and they will just all of a sudden go off screen. I literally in the last level that I did before we started recording, I literally had an issue where the I had the camera like zoomed in and you can't see past a certain point, and I'm sitting there going, why can't I progress? And I have to start walking around the entire area and just like hitting X until all of a sudden an enemy pops out that I apparently didn't kill, and then I can go forward. And
right,
I'm just like, oh man, this is not it's not great. And there was the bosses have a big problem. They have bosses in certain levels, and some of them are traditional, like okay, it's the end and you're getting to the boss, whatever. Then some of them are like in the middle of the level, like there's a one where you're fighting like a kraken on a ship, and it's cool, but the problem is that there's you get to the last part of the freaking level and the thing just slows down to a crawl where I could not move my character. And I had to replay that like 4 times until I finally was able to come in with like a special attack before you get to that part. And I just spammed it and killed the thing.
yeah,
And I was like, because I was literally talking to like another one of my friends, Jeff Young, who we've had on here before. He was reviewing it also, and he's like, yeah, I just figured out a way to just spam the special and get over that because there's only 20 levels in the game. That's like the 6th level or something. And he's like, yeah, I eventually figured out how to get through it, but man, it was a problem for a little bit. I was like, yeah,
uh,
imagine me replaying the damn level like 4 times. So,
yeah,
um, and then quick resume wasn't helping, where it decides that it wants to just crap out the game. So thankfully the levels are really fast. Like it's like 3 or 4 minutes. So yeah, it's probably fine in co-op, like where you don't really think about it much, but it's there's better beat 'em ups out there for sure.
right,
It technically the embargo ended today this morning, so the game doesn't come out to February 6th. So hopefully they can patch some of this stuff, especially the enemies just disappearing on off screen, and like your character when you go on a bridge just decides to fall off and stuff like that. But
why fix that? It's working as intended.
yeah, exactly. One indie game that I absolutely loved, I gave it a, I guess 9 out of 10, 4.5 stars. I talked about it when I played the demo, but Rift of the Necrodancer is freaking awesome. The 35 tracks are fantastic to listen to even outside the game. If you and it has pretty much the people you're used to, Danny Branowski, Jules, some folks that are used to with the other soundtracks for the Crypt series. But they also brought in Alex. I hope I'm not butchering his name. Mulaka, the guy that does a lot of like he does a lot of Final Fantasy um like covers with like guitars and stuff.
Okay,
African American guy. I don't know if you've seen him,
nope,
but he does awesome versions of that stuff. And so they brought him into this game, and he does like rocking. uh, songs on the soundtrack that are tremendous to listen to outside of it. The story is kind of what it is, you know. It's silly. It's to get you to point A to point B. I did love the little mini games that are in this thing. Like each character, each one of Cadence's friends has like their own character, their own
Right.
little not character, their own little job that they do. And so you kind of do like a version of a rhythm game to like yoga or a rhythm game to like taking pictures. And it's actually like really neat. And it kind of made me forget sometimes to press the button because I'm wanting to see like the backgrounds and things like that are happening. And the songs are really good for those two. So yeah, they did a tremendous job of like moving this series, which is already obviously rhythm based. So you have that and you have the great soundtrack to go with it. But they translated that super well to like basically Guitar Hero.
Right.
So if you're missing an actual traditional Guitar Hero game, obviously without the guitar, then there is this, which you could technically play with one. If you, it's only on PC right now. It's supposed to come to Switch at some point. I don't know when. I didn't really notice any like issues with it, like as far as like lag or anything like that. So it should work decent, you know, pretty well on the Switch, especially the Switch 2
Right.
when that comes out. So I'm sure that it will work just fine. But you can play with one hand essentially because it's just the up, left, and right arrows. And it doesn't really change from that. Obviously, you have to, depending on which enemies are going, you have to change how many times you hit it before you get to that. But that's what makes it fun. Is the track changes, the enemies change. If you want to make it harder for yourself, you definitely can. There's ones that will change the way that the beat happens, stuff like that, because it still has the beat matching stuff from Crypt and all that. And then it has the fun boss battles, which if you're watching the video version, it shows like even though they're all kind of the same, you're all just like beat matching like the arrows and stuff. They all have like really fun characters that are happening on screen, and they have their own like songs as well. They're fun. So yeah, it can get pretty hard if you want to play it even on medium. It can get tough. I had to repeat a bunch of times, a bunch of songs. So
Right.
to get through it. So but it was a blast. I had a blast with it. So it's right now, I guess technically it would be my front runner for best reviewed game so far. Obviously, we got
Your
a
game
long
of
way
the
to
year.
go.
Yeah.
A long way to go, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we got a lot of games, especially ones that I know I'm going to have access to because they'll be on Game Pass. But it could be up there just the way that I know I like rhythm and music games. So,
Right.
but that's pretty much it for me. I do have the Iron Tail 2 also going, but I'm trying to. The embargo just ended, so I'm trying to do exactly what I did for Rift, which is try to get this up tomorrow. So I'm only Big Helmet Hero is up tomorrow, so I'm only behind by one day on the embargo, and then I can because it's not their fault, right? They're an indie also, but they weren't able to give me the code till launch day for Iron Tail 2. So I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to do kind of what normally happens if you wait till give me the game until the day it comes out. If I have other games that I haven't hit embargo yet, those are going to go first, and then
Right.
this won't come last. So hopefully within a week I'll be able to get that up, and then I can kind of refresh my palette until we get to further on down the line. So but yeah, that's it for me playing games right now. Let's get on to the actual news here. I guess we might as well start with uh, X. No, let's start with this thing that affects everything in gaming, which was announced officially, like as I want to say, a couple days ago. Not gonna make this political. This is just about how it affects gaming. You want to go make it political, you can go do that in the comments, but we're not doing that here. So Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States, announced the tariffs that he said he was going to do as part of his campaign. He proposed a 25% tax on Mexico and Canada, 10% on China. He's also going to tax Taiwanese. Can't think of the name. The circuit boards, the
PCB,
the freaking semiconductors. I'm sorry, semiconductors. Which those go into computer parts. They go into consoles. They go into cars. They go into a lot of things. Right now, Mexico has been avoided because they came out with some kind of they're going to come up with a new trade deal. So those have been delayed for a month while they figure this out, I guess. I really don't know why we're testing Canada at all. And then, but Canada doesn't really have much to do with the video game side of things. It's more about China, the semiconductors from Taiwan, and if Mexico ever goes into effect, because a lot of physical games are made in Mexico.
Yeah.
A lot of the actual stuff that's used to make the physical games.
Well, even like physical media and stuff as well. So
right. So, and because that would lead to physical media going up in price, the fear is that in order to make it to where, stores and consumers that are buying physical are not just eating that price, you may have to eat that price digitally as well. So we might see the price of games that we talked about with the Grand Theft Auto deal. Maybe that happens even before Grand Theft Auto 5 or 6, coming out. So sadness. As if we need things to be more expensive with the way things are right now in the economy. And I feel bad for the people in other countries that are already paying ridiculous prices for games. Or not ridiculous, I guess it's whatever, the compatible price for games, which is still way more than what we pay here in the United States. Feel bad for them if that affects us now, obviously, here in the US. So now we may be paying, perhaps closer to $80 or more. And then who knows if this affects, don't know if they were already kind of pricing for that to happen, or if they'll eat the price and make every game not every game, but every AAA-ish game $70 instead. What Nintendo's going to do with the Switch 2, if they account for that and have consumers kind of deal with the price increase on that end with Switch 2 as well. So let's see what happens there. You think any of this stuff is going to happen?
I think in the short term it will, but I mean the short term would be like a day or two until everyone realizes he's a complete dumbass and they override him.
Also, do you feel like this could spell even more the end of physical media if this does go in effect? And let's say some places just either abandon the physical version of the game in order to not have to increase the price, or they do just say, look, if you want this special version of the game or whatever, it's going to cost this, but you could still buy it digitally if you,
limited runs still exist, or, they're more popular than ever. So there's still a demand for physical media. So I don't think necessarily like that'll go away.
But let's say that, okay, people start doing what we saw Nintendo do with Metroid Prime, right? Where let's say they released the digital version like 2 or 3 weeks early, and they go, okay, the digital version's still 60 or 40 or 50 or whatever game you're buying, or 70, but then the physical version is more, right?
I still think there'll be a market for the physical one. So, I mean, it'll suck, but people will still buy it, or.
Fair enough. Let's see what they wind up doing, right? Because the thought is that they will make both digital and physical the same, because they don't want to immediately kill whatever physical market there is still left. Especially once Switch 2's out there and Nintendo is once again like leading the way for physical, because people tend to buy a lot of Switch games physical. Also, do you see the rumors about they changed the cases for Switch 2 games?
No.
Like, they supposedly made them even bigger for some reason instead of making them smaller. I don't know why that needs to be so big. That cartridge is freaking tiny.
I mean, the cartridge might be bigger though. Like they
Maybe.
it may have like a slot for Switch games, but it may have like a bigger slot for like Switch 2 games.
Yeah,
Like
could
the
be.
actual game could be, the physical size could be bigger. We're bringing back Compact Flash.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're doing here. I would say that you since you watch him all the time. I meant to watch Jeff Gerstmann's episode this week because he had Adam Boyes on.
All right.
Gamertag Radio also had Adam Boyes on.
I'm a few episodes behind Jeff, but yeah, I saw he was on there, or Adam was on there.
Okay, so I was gonna see if you could give me the perspective of because nobody I don't know if it has to do with just the whole thing, if this goes back to Jeff's thing with what happened with why he left GameSpot, or I don't know what it's like. Was there nothing newsworthy in his podcast that like nobody reported on it compared to everybody reported the one from Gamertag Radio, or did they talk about the same stuff or whatever? Because it's like when the Xbox One came out with Phil, they reported on both, so it's kind of interesting.
Well, there's two things. One, I would say, Jeff isn't as, I wouldn't say business oriented, but like console or news oriented. Like, because Adam is a friend, so they probably just
Right.
talk the shit, talk crap most of the time. But also, like Adam himself, like he hasn't been with Sony for like 5 years at least, I think.
Yeah, he has that consulting firm now.
Yeah, but he was with Iron Galaxy for like the past 5 years or 4.5, or so he's not like a Sony guy per se, as opposed to Phil, who literally still is running Xbox. It's not like it's a new job for him, or he's still the head of the Xbox clan.
Right.
So I mean that's probably why it wasn't like particularly newsworthy from Jeff about Adam's take on stuff, or even if they got into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Jeff. I'm sure Jeff brought it up,
Right.
just because that kind of happens in conversation. But a lot of the one thing that was kind of taken out of the Gamertag Radio interview, which again was a short one. It was like about 25-30 minutes. You can go watch it.
Okay,
again,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure like the Adam Jeff podcast is like 2 hours long at least.
Yeah, it is. It's much longer.
Yeah.
And they spend like talking about, I think I watched like the first 30 minutes of it, and they're sitting there talking about like what games he's playing, and he's talking about other stuff, So the one thing that they talked about was basically him sharing his thoughts on the Xbox multi-platform strategy thing, since he comes from Sony side that is not doing that, obviously. And he obviously is everybody knows him pretty much from that how to share games video that he did with Shuhei. And he brought up that basically his kind of thing is like he doesn't understand why everybody plays the victim. He doesn't understand who the victim is here, because he doesn't see where this is a problem, because everybody getting to play everybody's games is a good thing. He uses like an analogy of, well, they were Blockbuster that then became Netflix. What if everybody's an entertainment company now? Sony is Nintendo's Disney, Sony is HBO, and Microsoft is Netflix.
Tell that to Blockbuster.
Well, yeah. But Blockbuster's problem was they were too stupid to number one, not buy Netflix when they could have, and then number two, basically underestimate them and not try to do more of what they were doing faster. But
I would say the victim, like the victim, and we'll talk about this, I guess, maybe with the Forza stuff, is like people evangelize their consoles or now their video cards.
It's tribalism, right?
Yeah. So the victim in this, well, the quote unquote victim would be like Xbox fanboys or Xbox purists. But it's like, hey, you backed a horse and it didn't come through, so you gotta take it for what it is, or like there's some of the sad
he talks about that. It's people kind of not wanting to change and being like, I only want this thing on the thing that I bought.
Right. I mean, there are still the sad bastards who are like evangelizing the Sega Dreamcast and Sega Saturn and going like, oh, the Sega Saturn had the greatest lineup ever if you count the Japanese lineup, and it's
Right.
like, okay, yeah, if you count like the 30 obscure 2D shooters for the Saturn that only you and 8 other people care about, then yeah, it's the greatest launch or greatest console ever. But for the regular folk, which is everyone, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what he talks about, and kind of the
I
segue
mean,
because you brought it up. Go ahead, sorry.
no, I was gonna say like it happened, like you know, the 360, not the 360, the Xbox had a decent run, and if they want to continue a console business, they can. But out of 4 rolls of the dice, they only hit once, and they didn't even like that one time they hit. They still kind of ended up third, like overall. It just took a long ass while.
Yeah, it was basically at the end of the generation is when they
Which
finally lost.
I guess I
Third.
wouldn't like hold that against them. I'd still say like of that generation, I think the 360 was the lead platform. Maybe not in
Oh,
terms of
definitely.
sales, but like in terms of like overall popularity or putting its like foot the like it was like the lead in terms of interest for if you had a multi-platform game, which is rare in that generation, the 360 is still probably the lead.
Yeah, and you didn't have, and obviously because of three, aside from when they had the problem with the Red Ring of Death, which didn't help them, uh,
Right.
the games played better. You had less problems, right? PS3 had a lot of problems with various games.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't watch it, but I saw some Digital Foundry clip or like it was on suggested going like it was on YouTube. It was like, why did the 360 and PS3 games run so bad? And I really had to fight the urge to just write "fuck you" like under the comment section, because it's like you're reviewing these games, you're looking at these games, 20 years after the fact. The consoles were underpowered back then, somewhat,
exactly.
because
Yeah.
because they're not like top of the line PCs even back then. It's like get a goddamn grip, like
And it's interesting too because it's like people always talk about FPS. Well, the games ran at 60 FPS,
right.
so it's like,
At least some of them did. I mean, not all,
yeah,
but yeah. But
you
we're
know,
gonna bring up Forza, I assume.
yes. I guess to go ahead and segue because brought up the tribalism again of oh my game is going somewhere else, and look, I understand, right? I think if you're an Xbox only person,
Right.
you are worried at this point because what if the next console doesn't sell? Am I going to have to buy a PC in order to be able to play the games that I bought on my
Right.
Xbox? Um, are are they going to sell enough? Right? If the rumor is that they're going to have instead of having the Series S, they're going to have the second SKU is going to be their handheld that's going to be similar to the Switch, and they sell enough between the two that they can kind of keep it afloat, and it's not like bleeding them to keep making consoles when they're not really doing much.
Right.
Or does the sales of Steam and Sony make it to where it doesn't matter because they're doing good enough, right?
I would say,
Yeah,
I mean, I know like Sea of Thieves came out and it did well, and that other Xbox game came out and did okay. I would
yeah,
say like Forza is actually like the best litmus test about how much more stuff should come out. Like, should they put Halo on 360 or not, Halo on PS5 or Gears on PS5, or how much of this back catalog stuff do you want to kind of mine for bringing over?
right.
Uh, I I hate to say it, and Xbox or Microsoft wouldn't do this. I don't think it should be a full price game.
I mean, I could see $60,
I could see $30 because
but remember, it's also coming with the expansions,
okay,
right?
40,
Like,
like,
you
but like
know,
Horizon's old. Like it's at least it's 3 years old at this point, maybe even 4. I mean, when did Horizon? Uh, yeah, Horizon 5 came out in 2021, so it's a 4-year-old game.
well, hold on, let's see.
Like Motorsport came out sooner than that. That was like 2 years ago. So
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the fact that like It should be less. We don't know the price right now. You can wish list it on PlayStation if you want,
Right.
PlayStation 5 right now. But I would bet that Navy 60 is where they land because technically it's coming with all the expansions. It's a full content game. Yes, it's being ported, so Panic Button is working on it. It's being overseen by Playground, but obviously most of Playground's over there working on Fable right now.
Right.
So but they also handled the ports of Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, and Wolfenstein 2 New Colossus for Switch. So
Yeah.
it's not like they don't know what they're doing. So if there is a team that you would want doing it, that would make sense. If they can get this to work really well and not have many problems at launch,
I'm sure it'll work
honestly,
fine because it'll run fine. Runs fine on a PC well enough, and that's all
right.
these consoles are basically now is glorified PCs. Because nothing like special per se.
Yeah. It's funny because like it was that game it won a bunch of awards. I think it won IGN's game of the year that year and all that stuff. And then it's like, oh, this is the game for 2021. Xbox has got it. And then it's like many years later, here we go. It's coming to PlayStation. And you could argue that like now PlayStation has a fantastic car game finally.
What
Depending
about
on where
Gran
you land
Turismo?
on depending on where you land on Gran Turismo. Especially in the arcade scene, they don't have a arcade game like that.
Right.
So because Forza Motorsport, you could argue Gran Turismo 7 is perhaps better because that thing came out and it feels like nobody talked about it. But
Yeah.
outside of the gearheads that love that game, Horizon 5 was beloved. So
Yeah.
definitely,
I'm
I
so
think this is going to sell well.
right.
Um, I don't think we worry about like I do think and even Phil said it. He said there's stuff that's already come out that we are not going to port over here. Like, I think I brought up Recore. Like they're not going to bother wasting their time bringing that over there.
But they are going to bring over Rise, Son of Rome.
I'll be interested to see if they bring that over.
No.
I wonder if perhaps also like because motorsports not. I mean, the thing is they're probably going to be working on Fable for a long time. So I wonder if I'm assuming once Fable is done, they will then have a smaller team that then starts working on Forza Horizon 6 if they're not already.
That's a
Yeah.
that's a bold claim because you're assuming that Fable's ever going to get done.
Or perhaps they section off a team again if they're not already doing that.
Microsoft just contracts Bioware to finish it. Well, you guys do it before you shut down.
To perhaps add more content to Forza Horizon 5 if it sells well enough on PlayStation. Right.
No, they might add like one more car pack or something, but no, it won't be like here's a whole new island or whole new setting. Right?
I'm gonna be
That's just
interested
fun.
if did the Warthog come to Forza Horizon 5? Or was that just Motorsport? Because
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
in
be
5.
I'm
It's
gonna be
like
interested if it's gonna come to PS5 or not.
I
That's gonna
assume
be an
so.
interesting one. Would they have that come out before Halo's officially out on those systems or not?
But I think the problem with the Warthog is like it's not out, it's not like included by default. You have to like win it. It's a stupid yeah. You
Yeah,
can
in
either
one
win it.
of the tournaments or
No,
something.
you have to
Yeah.
win it you can either buy it for like a lot of money, or you have to win it like the stupid car roulette thing, the
Yeah.
spin to win or whatever.
I wonder if they change any of that at all.
Yeah.
Moving on from that for a little while here, even though again, big deal for this to happen. I think you can pretty much just if this sells well, that's it. Like it is there is he already said it, but there's no hesitation. It's all coming. All the big games that they think will have a decent shot of selling are gonna come.
Yep.
Especially any of the recent stuff. And we already know Indiana Jones is coming. He basically said Starfield is coming. It's just we don't know exactly when. And
I imagine Starfield might have like one more DLC up its sleeve, like an actual hopefully good story based content one. And then once that comes out, they'll bundle it all together and release it on PS5. as like
And
collector's edition or complete
and
edition
I
or
wonder if
whatever.
South of Midnight becomes the last pseudo Xbox exclusive because, well, I guess Fable maybe also, but like almost everything else that they're coming out with this
Yeah,
year is releasing on both at the same time. Outer
right.
Worlds is Outer Worlds 2 is releasing. Oh, Avowed as well. But Avowed is before South of Midnight, so but yeah, I think outside of Fable, maybe everything else is like Doom's releasing at the same time, Ninja Gaiden 4. Um, you know, so most of the other one is third party, but still it's like it's kind of just still weird to see that.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna take a long time for it not to feel weird. Especially once Halo comes and somebody could technically go and play that on PS5.
right.
I would think that the one thing that they won't do is put any of those games on PlayStation Plus.
No, it'll be
Because
buy this or not.
because then what's the point of Game Pass if you're going to put it on their service as well? But
Right.
yeah, that's the one thing. It's, you can get it cheaper on Game Pass if you want, and that helps you if you still own the Xbox, which look, the more people buy things on PlayStation, you're kind of also subsidizing Game Pass. So, but I want to see what happens. We're going to talk about their quarterly earnings, where Game Pass revenue went up, or their services revenue went up by 2%. Obviously, thanks to Call of Duty, Black Ops being on there. Let's see what happens when Black Ops is not new.
Right. So this month
Yeah,
or last month actually, but yeah, I assume it'll go down. I mean, the big question is by how much. I don't think it'll be like the biggest drop off, but I think it'll still be a drop
I
off.
mean, if they ever have a time right now when they're releasing games at the same when they're releasing games at a good clip, like you have games coming one after the other right now to keep Call of Duty players there. This is it, right? If you
I'm
can't
like,
keep, yeah. Go
what
ahead.
games are releasing a good clip? Like,
I mean, I'm just saying one after the other, right? You got Val. Obviously, they don't. I mean, they can just like shooters, and then they'll just wait till Doom, perhaps, and then that's it.
but like,
But
I,
yeah,
I think like the typical Call of Duty player or fan is gonna play Avowed or is gonna play Song of Midnight or South of Midnight or whatever that thing's called. Like, they want the killing, and that's it.
like I said, they'll just wait till May. They'll cancel and then they'll reboot in May when Doom comes out. But it's like I think there are crossover fans that are not just Call of Duty fans; they are gamers, and maybe they don't mess with Game Pass. They didn't know Game Pass existed, and then they go, "Oh wow, there's this game Avowed on there. Okay, it's an RPG. I'll play that. I'll play South of Midnight. That looks cool. You know, whatever the Atom Fall, that other BioShock type game that's coming, I think at the end of March. So there's a lot there before you even get to Doom, that could keep people around. And then of course they got the June showcase to tell you kind of what's coming after that. So I mean, if you can't do it with a bunch of games coming, that really just kind of tells you it's always just going to be seasonal with this thing of just you're going to have a big influx in October when Call of Duty comes, of the Call of Duty only people, and then you're going to have people that maybe stick around more because they're gamers and they want to play some of the other stuff. So uh, we'll see how that goes. Their hardware sales went down again, 29%. That's not really a surprise. Their hardware is going to keep going down.
Yeah.
Um, And then I think also their like just sales in general went down like 7%. I think they really only released like Call of Duty, which I'm sure that's still sold decently, but obviously way more on PlayStation, and it was the highest selling game on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam at
Right.
one point. So
Where's the Switch
yeah,
version?
that'll come with Switch 2, I imagine.
for like 2 years. And then
I wouldn't be surprised if that's like, I'm sure Nintendo will show off a Nintendo thing with that, but I bet they will also show maybe Call of Duty running with you using the mouse thing, perhaps.
it'll be like play as Mario and kill Peach in deathmatch.
That would be funny if like that's like the Nintendo only mode is so you
All
put,
the machine gun use fireballs.
well, what are you gonna do? Put you gonna put Samus in there
That wouldn't be
with
that wouldn't be bad.
yeah, like it's Star Fox is Samus and
Hey, Star Fox has a gun at least, so sure.
yeah, I mean you don't technically have to. I mean they add like celebrities in there that have nothing to do with guns, so you know.
It'll
But
be
no,
Mario versus Cody Rhodes.
yeah, Cody Rhodes. I mean, isn't Nicki Minaj like the highest selling
Probably.
character or whatever add in that game or something? So not surprising at all with that. But look, it is what it is with Xbox and their console sales. But at
Yep.
least you know the software's coming, and that's the important part. Got an interesting one though of John Gonzalez announced on LinkedIn that he's coming back to Bethesda and Obsidian, but he's not gonna work on. Well, he's just coming to write. I don't know if it's Bethesda or just Xbox in general, but he says it's not Fallout New Vegas 2. Do you?
Right.
A lot of times when they announce that it's not that, it winds up being that.
No, I
Do
don't
you
think it'll
think
be New
he's
Vegas 2. I think it'll be Fallout New Seattle or some other Fallout game though.
5 or?
Yeah, or whatever that they're
But
cooking
that's
up.
not coming for a long. That they still got to get through Elder Scrolls. Like maybe he's just helping writing Elder Scrolls 6 first or something.
The mutant the super mutants and Oblivion or Elder Scrolls 6 that big quest line.
Do you really believe, Tom Howard, that they seriously are not going to do anything Fallout related except for Fallout 5 all the way down the line? Like that show has to have them spinning up something, right?
Not necessarily, because you can still do a lot in Fallout like that's not tied to that show. Like there are plenty of other areas in the USA that aren't a part of that show.
Well, no, I'm not saying it has to be part of the show. I'm saying like, man, it can't just be Fallout 76 this entire time, right? They got to have another Fallout game, like a more traditional Fallout game.
No, I think that's actually true. Because they're dumb.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
they
there
don't
is
want.
the rumored, like, what is it, Fallout 3 remaster or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that happening. Like, I mean, they're making that Oblivion thing, or
Yeah.
and like I like Fallout 3. I think I might prefer it over New Vegas, at least in some aspects. But like that game was kind of messy as well. So if they could kind of clean it up some and put it out and go here's more, here's better looking Fallout 3. Or they could like do like Fallout 3 Enhanced Edition and put out like, you know, a Lucy quest line somehow, or tie it in somehow to the uh to the TV show. That might be something
Right.
they could do, but I don't think like they're gonna make Fallout 5 or Fallout, you know, Lucy Edition, or a game devoted to her, or whatever the dad, I forget the dad's name, anything like that.
No, probably not. I'd imagine so. They're definitely not gonna do that, I think. But I would imagine that.
What they could do, like, is just say kind of screw it and add in like Lucy and the Super Mutant as like companions. Like canon doesn't really. I mean, it exists in that universe, but just here's like fantasy companions, and have Lucy and Walton Goggins just voicing basically them like their characters, and that'd be
Yeah.
fun. I actually wouldn't mind that. That'd be kind of funny at least.
Yeah, I could definitely see them doing that. Or you think that the show will have a spinoff that it does so well, or they just stick with just doing Fallout that until it ends? Or
I think they'll stick with doing that until it ends, because it's not like an old show. It's not like they're making 20 episodes a season, every year. Like they do
Right.
9 episodes every 2 years or something, because that's how TV is now, and it sucks. So they'll probably do
Yeah,
it until Walton Goggins doesn't want to do it anymore.
probably. Which, hey, he did what, Justified for like 4 or 5 seasons. So
I think he was on there from the start. Uh,
yeah,
and he's doing that Rightful Gems that just ended, or they had like the last season now, but it's TV. Good for him.
yeah. I mean, he does great work. So whenever we can see him doing
Yep.
more, I'm happy with that. Should have noted also that they did increase their PC subscriber base by 30%, which, apparently that wasn't extremely high. So that's a good thing. And that Xbox Cloud Gaming has a record 140 million hours streamed, which I'm sure that's also pushed by Call of Duty too, the people that love to play on mobile. So yeah, you can play cloud gaming with your phone, all that stuff. So that helps there too. It's going to be interesting also with the critical reception of Indiana Jones. Apparently had 4 million engaged players. If that translates to PS5, how well does that do? You think it's going to do pretty well on PS5? Or are you interested in it at all? Or
I am kind of like, that's kind of the one game I'd really like to play. So yeah, like I may buy it when it comes out. I don't think Jens is, because he does Game Pass, and he's talked about buying it on Xbox. Or
oh,
he already
okay,
has it on Xbox, so he doesn't really want to buy
right,
it
yeah,
on
understandable. You don't need to spend the money several times for one game that would cost you a bunch of times to do that. So,
right.
moving on finally from Xbox, I think. Oh no, just one more thing. There is an ID at Xbox showcase because everybody's announcing showcases this week. It looks like
Yep.
ID at Xbox showcase February 24th. Phil talked about they are happy to be supporting indies and keep doing that during
At
the
least it's
interview that he did. Yeah.
a few weeks off.
Yeah, it is a few weeks off, but at least, if people are interested in the indie side of Xbox, which they always do a great job with that,
Right.
you can watch that when it happens. Which if you go read like the articles, they do have the actual like companies that are going to be in there. I'm sure there'll be some surprises and whatnot, but it looks like since they went over to IGN and they did this in a better way, it doesn't go on forever, and it's much better curated. Because sometimes those ones they did with the Twitch streamers, my
That was
God,
bad.
it felt like they would go on for like 3 or 4 hours, and I'm like, holy crap! Look, I love indies, and this is part of my job to talk about this stuff, but I can't watch 4 hours
Right.
of just game after game and then doing the dev interviews and all that stuff. It's a lot. That being said, moving over to devs here, talking about the terrible news for devs of BioWare
Yeah.
that
It didn't hit my $20 price tag.
it didn't. Yeah, it went on sale to like 25, and you said that wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's like
It,
$5 more and it'll get me.
um, the news here is that number one, Gary McKay announced that they were downsizing BioWare because, quote, they don't need the full staff because Mass Effect 5 is not even in full production or close to it, really, it seems like. And that they were moving some people to other places in EA. Those also they could that they didn't really talk about it. He kind of hit it in the press release or in the article, or the whole thing about it. But they laid off people,
Yep.
not only contractors but actual employees. That's why he said there's people that can apply to other positions within EA if they want to. And that was his way of kind of saying that without saying it. And then also the fact that then Bloomberg reports that they have the studio. So they went from 200 employees working there to 100 between a combination of laid off, um, push to move to another studio,
Right.
and still working there. And it's just kind of really sad to
Well,
see this. Yeah,
I guess I had a few questions. Would be like, how many people worked on like Dragon Age 1 or Mass Effect 1 or 2?
that are still
Like,
there.
well, that is still there. I mean, like, just total. Was it like 100 people, or was it 200? Or I mean, I wonder how big BioWare got. 'Cause I remember when they did all that stupid like rebranding for like a month or like a few weeks, like a decade ago,
Yeah,
like BioWare Victory, all that shit, and then quickly went away. Like,
right.
you know, I'm sure there were a lot of people working at BioWare that were like, network people, like
Hmm.
Anthem folk or whatever. It's like, do we really need these people still around? Because
Right.
Mass Effect 5 ain't gonna have that probably, or Dragon Age sure didn't. Uh, I you know when if and when Mass Effect 5 comes out and doesn't hit, BioWare's done.
I'm actually worried that Mass Effect 5 won't hit.
I don't
I Yeah.
I don't think it'll hit because that studio, like I can't comment on Veilguard, but it didn't didn't blow anyone's socks off. Anthem sure didn't. The other game sure as hell didn't. Like,
Yeah.
they haven't made a good game in a long
You
ass
can you
while.
can argue that the one of the major reasons why it conditioned so well is because there's a lot of people that didn't like that game.
Right.
Is because 2014 was such a bad year
Yeah.
for video games that it was like in
It
the
was
game of
that.
the year race by default.
Yeah, it was like that and Shadow War or Shadow Mordor and
Yeah.
game other games to be named later.
Yeah.
uh, I really hate to see it, but I think BioWare hasn't changed well with the times, and it's another example of like not studios not giving people what they want,
Right.
and it's like, why are you here then, or why?
Well, I think it's also EA doesn't seem to
Right,
know what to do with them,
sure,
right? They are very much as we're going to talk about with another game. It seems like if it's not a sports game right now, or what other thing is
maybe
The
Dragon,
Sims,
yeah.
or what else is actually going well for them right now, aside from
They made that WRC game.
it's like it's really is the sports games that are carrying them because and then
Right,
it helped them that EA's College Football 25 did ridiculous bonkers numbers and saved them from what would have been a bigger catastrophe had that game not come out because you would have just had Madden and then supposedly EA Sports FC didn't do what they wanted to do, which was still ridiculous numbers. Let's not like play around.
right.
I mean, it's also I think that's their mobile stuff, does well and whatever. But I mean, most of the games that EA puts out, like it's like, oh, they don't live. I mean, I guess they also have Split Fiction coming next month, which that's gonna
That'll
probably
do
do
well.
well.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna do It Takes Two type numbers, but it might do pretty well. Um, it's just right now EA is kind of in one of those things like they don't.
they, they aren't as
Yeah,
like dire as Ubisoft, but
no, no, no,
their
definitely not.
desire to like focus on like one or two specific categories to the detriment of everything else is going to not doom them, but make them so reliant on those one or two things that if they start to falter, then they start to get screwed.
Yeah, I mean they also have the
Like
F1.
they need to be diversifying, not closing ranks. And hey, sometimes that stuff will not do well, but that's Dead Space thing did okay, but they're crazy with it should have sold 20 million copies. It's like, yo, this franchise can't support that, or this would never do that. The fact that it sold, I think, what 2 million, that's
Yeah.
good for considering where that franchise.
Well, that's if because all they announced was that it engaged 1.5 million people, and that includes people that just played the demo and did nothing else with it.
Was that Dragon Age or was that Dead Space?
Dead Space did too. Sorry, 2
Yeah,
million, and that wasn't enough for them to do
right,
Dead Space 2. So
right.
there's a lot of unannounced stuff, right? Like, and then I forgot obviously the Star Wars, right? Jedi Survivor, all that, the Jedi stuff.
I think that did okay, but it didn't. I don't think it did as well as the first one, probably. And I don't think
Yeah,
it
I
sold.
don't think so either. I don't think you needed to if you're making a point to make that game for next gen consoles like a year later, it means you need the sales.
Right.
Well, to me anyway. Other than the fact that you already had it in development, you said it. Why the hell not? Just go ahead and do it. Whatever. The worst thing that could happen is that we sell on that thing. But like, okay, so removing the Sims, all their sports stuff, and F1, I guess. Which we'll talk about the Sims in a second. You got Swift Fiction, Need for Speed Mobile, which we'll also talk about Need for Speed in a little bit. Plants vs. Zombies 3. Welcome to Zomburbia, whenever that's coming.
No, remember, it already came out once and they pulled it back.
Yeah. Skate, whenever that comes. Which people are getting excited about Skate, so maybe that will do decently. With the next Jedi game, the supposed Iron Man game, Mass Effect, Black Panther game, another Marvel game that we know nothing about other than it's a Marvel game. Some Sims game that we don't really know much about, and some Steve Fukuda game. And then also they announced that Need for Speed is going on hold for a while, even though they took the time to make a bunch of extra content for Unbound, right? They took like a whole year to make content for that, to let Criterion do that, and then they're basically pulling Criterion over to Battlefield, which they were, yeah.
That's what Criterion's good for. First-person shooters. Have you played Black?
Yeah. Well, people have this like fond love for Black. I feel like
They're dumb.
just because it's like a bullet hell, But yeah, I mean that's not what I think of either when I think of Criterion, right? Like people want them to be doing Burnout.
Yeah, as someone who played Unbound recently, that's a bad game. So, make Burnout for the love of God. It's been a decade, and that's another good example. Ubisoft and Splinter Cell. Like it has been over a decade since the last traditional Burnout game, or like console Burnout game. And then going like, oh,
there's a lot of people asking for that, not just you. There's a lot of people wishing that.
Yeah, and then going, oh, it doesn't sell as well as Need for Speed. It's like, yo, have you seen Need for Speed lately? Like that's a trash fire. At least Burnout is a fun trash fire.
Yeah, the fact that they're putting it on hold and going, oh, we took this year to learn what people actually want from Need for Speed, and now we're going to bring it back, and it's going to be amazing, said Vincent Bella. And
which translates to online only city, the stupid social crap they keep trying to cram into, Need for Speed that never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Just make Burnout, please, for the love of God.
I would agree with that. Please make Burnout. I would love to see it. I would love to play it. It would be awesome. Look, I think at this point, I think if you're EA, you have to do your best to make Battlefield work. You need something. You need something else that can be multiplayer focused, that can make you money. That's not just sports games, that appeals to other people.
Well, it's
right?
Not just Apex.
Right, not just Apex, which again, Respawn doing a great job with that,
I
and
mean,
the Star Wars games, and
that's
yeah,
the tragedy though. We already have Call of Duty. Like Battlefield at one point, it came before Call of Duty. At one point, it was bigger, kind of, but that was like way before Call of Duty 4 hit.
yeah.
Like I think Battlefield is a done franchise
You think
because
so?
you already have a game that does it better than you ever will, and
Mhm.
is more like there's something that can be like new or exciting in Battlefield. You got two options as far as first person shooters goes. Either Medal of Honor, which make another World War II shooter with D-Day looks so much more
I'm
impressive
totally
now.
done with that. I am totally done with that.
Uh, or you should hear Jens go on and on about Medal of Honor, like the old ones.
Yeah.
It's because of the stupid soundtracks. It's like, okay, and like,
I
uh,
also wonder like what Call of Duty is gonna do, because like are you just gonna keep doing Black Ops? Because it's like you can't go back to World War II. People are tired of that.
but the
Like,
other option,
yeah.
which people also want that they'll never give us apparently, is Titanfall 3.
Yep. And I
And at
think
least,
even Vince Tempella talked about it. They'd love to make a Titanfall 3, but because of Apex and the EA wants to make money, they don't think Titanfall has the ability to,
I mean, it's not like the past Battlefield has knocked it out of the park either. At
right.
least Titanfall at least has a unique hook, like the
Yeah.
actual fucking mech. Like it's not here's another quasi futuristic shooter or modern day first person shooter where you're killing Bin Laden or some other invented evil guy or whatever. Like or hell, bring back Bad Company.
Well, they did. They did. They had Bad Company 3 recently.
Didn't that bomb?
So, yes, they didn't do well, no.
Yeah. Remember Battlefield Hardline, the stupid cop game?
Yes. I remember that game.
So yeah,
I
they got
wanted to like that game so much too. But
two
yeah.
options. Realistically, they only got one option, which is Titanfall, and they're not doing
Yeah.
it. Instead, they're bringing the corpse of Battlefield back, and it's like, all right, I guess.
Well, you know what they also announced they're not doing is Sims 5.
Yeah.
But they did re-release Sims 1 and 2 on
Yep.
PC, and guess what happened? It already has problems. Because they don't have actual, so like the game never had an actual digital version. They're
Right.
having to basically take the disc versions of the game and like make these like digital portals kind of so you can have the digital version of the game that now has been released on, I guess, the EA app or whatever.
It's on
Yeah.
Steam.
Yeah, and Steam too. So
I mean, here's the problem. Yeah, these games are old. Like Sims was like 99 or like 98 maybe.
yes.
Sims 2 is like a little like I think like 2002, 2003.
Mhm.
Yo, just release a game for like a no CD crack. Like here you go. We subcontracted to Razor 1911 and they did it up for us and here you go.
They did release it, with all the DLC except for the IKEA home thing. So
That's
yeah,
probably like a license deal or
I'm
they
sure. Yeah,
uh I to their credit, like I think it's kind of cool because yeah, these games aren't available digitally and
yeah.
they evoke more nostalgia and interest in Sims 3 or definitely Sims 4.
I
Uh
mean, they're just like EA is very fortunate in that there are people that just sit there. That's all they do is play The Sims.
I think the
Like,
problem though with them going like, "Oh, we're not going to make Sims 5" is like, "Yo, The Sims 4 ain't exactly a new game. Like
yeah,
that's
it's been a
11 years old.
while. Yeah,
So how long can you bleed people dry or like have this old ass engine still
well,
going
they can
cranking
keep
along?
making expansions, right? They can keep,
Yeah, but at a
yeah,
certain point that even like Sims player, look at WoW. Like after 10 years, they eventually had to do an engine upgrade. You
yeah,
know, so yeah, I think it's like I'm not saying they got to put like all steam ahead on Sims 5, but
right.
they should have some group wherever Maxis, the corpse of Maxis is, or uh, working on something like Sims 5 related, or like The Sims or The Sims something, some stupid subtitle like regrowth or reborn or something like that.
Spore too.
Pray. I got that and Darkspore on Steam.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, all right, we move on from EA here to talk about PlayStation. PlayStation is having their own things going on right now. And it's interesting that we talked about this last week about would there be repercussions for what's going on with the live service games getting canceled and all that stuff. And then we do. Just out of the blue, well, not out of the blue, it's kind of announced it that it's a whole shuffle going on. So it's not only just the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, they changed the CEO of Sony proper. Hiroki Totoki is now the CEO of Sony.
Yep.
And then Hideaki Nishino is now the only CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. Hermen Hulst goes back to his old position as CEO of PlayStation Studios. The idea is that now he doesn't have to deal with the business crap and he can just go back to just managing the studios. Anybody that knows business, that is a demotion because I'm assuming he doesn't get paid as much as Nishino, right?
Right. But he does get to yell
Yeah.
about Aloy some more in creative meetings, so maybe he wants that.
I'm sure. It's also, Japanese takeover again of Sony after being kind of like European led for a while since Jim Ryan and even before them with Andrew House and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So, do you think this really means anything? Or is it all just kind of like,
I think in the short term it doesn't mean much, but I think in the long term, like the only live service game we're ever going to get is that Horizon thing, and even now I'd say that's probably pretty shaky.
I think Fair Games is coming, and then I don't want that for the developers. I don't want that for the studio, just because that failing means they're going to get laid off.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't do well.
Right.
Yeah, Horizon might be the one that they're really hoping because it does have a world that you could technically people might want to be in and do that game, do survival
Yeah.
Horizon or
They'll pitch
it's
it as like robot Monster Hunter or something like
exactly
that.
Monster
But
Hunter, you know.
it's not. I don't think it's quite designed like that. Uh, and then I just don't think like the property is interesting enough for that to like really get like the groundswell of people that it needs. Unless it's free to play, in that case, go for it. But if it's like $20 or $40 or something, they're like, nope.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that it will be a full. It might. I don't think it's going to be free. I'm pretty sure it's going to be that one will at least charge because it's got the Horizon name on it. I could see them trying to do. Maybe they go back and Fair Games is free.
Yeah.
The idea was that Fair Games and Marathon are both supposed to be. They're going to make you pay, but
I think Marathon's done also, unfortunately.
we'll see because they're still working on that Gummy Bears game, which is supposed to be like a MOBA that is gonna try to ape something, Fortnite or whatever. It looks like
Yeah.
it kind of looks like Fortnite. We'll see. I don't think that that's I hate to see these things come out and just bomb. I really wouldn't. That wouldn't be great at all for
Right.
the developers. I don't think Sony really needs any more of these things to bomb. I think that at this point they're just so far along that they can't cancel them.
Yeah, but then that leads to bad. Like, I would rather they cancel it now than waste another year and then have it come out and be more disastrous than if they just canceled it right now.
I do think we see perhaps,
Like,
again, some of this shift will start to happen where perhaps they're going to, the state of play that's supposed to going to happen this week or maybe next week.
Yeah.
I'm sure that will be stuff that's already been announced. It's not going to be anything. I don't know that there's going to be anything shocking in there, but I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if they're really already starting to ramp up. Like, hey, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this. Like, we're going back to what we used to do. We're not gonna waste time making multiplayer games that we're not good at. Maybe somebody gets a light to try to bring back one of these shooter franchises. I don't know. Somebody else would have to do it, right? Because we're not gonna Gorilla and um whatchamacallit, who was the other studio that kills him? Can't think right now. Or no, Gorilla did Killzone. Whoever did Resistance.
Oh, Naughty Dog, I think.
Not yet. No, not Naughty Dog. It's not Sucker Punch either. It's the other one whatever.
Insomniac.
I'll think Insomniac. That's right. We just talked about them last week. So yeah, somebody else would have to do it. But it would be cool if somebody decided to bring that back, just to bring back a series, or maybe they start something new, just to have something different on the outside of just the franchises you already know, and just keep doing sequels for them. But they did they did go after was it Lance McDonald for having that Bloodborne 60 FPS patch.
Yeah.
Maybe we're finally getting the Bloodborne remaster that everybody wanted. I don't think so either.
So
I think people are just
everyone wants it, so they won't deliver it.
I think people keep wishing that into existence.
That's my mantra. So
they did also make some changes here. As soon as this was announced, they also had a blog post announcing some things. Both of them make total sense, but one of them makes the most sense because eventually you're going to move on from the PS4. But with the announcement of the PlayStation Plus Essential games, which this month's are not anything to write home about, Payday 3, High on Life, which was on Game Pass when it first came out a long time ago, and it was fine. It was funny even, but I don't know it's going to do great on PlayStation, and then Pac-Man will repack. But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what was that first one?
High on Life and Payday 3.
Yeah, you're not gonna tell me you're gonna play that?
No, definitely not. But no, I mean, the thing that they announced on this is that starting in 2026, they will no longer have it has to be a PS4 game as a requirement. Obviously, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
At that point, are you still? I'm sure that you're still making You might still be making PS4 games, but that's definitely going to be way. Like it's going to be just the games that you would expect at that point, right? The sports games, those kind of things that, okay, let's just keep them around. I think this is the first edition of the WWE 2K series that's not going to have Xbox One and PS4 support also. So we're starting to move away from that, which they should really. Come on, man. We're getting 5 years into the life cycle. I get that people are still playing PS4s, but they can still do that to play Fortnite and all that stuff. Move the new games onto something else. The other one that made a lot more sense, that should have been done from the beginning, when they first announced this big push to make PC games, make the single player Sony games, and even the multiplayer ones for that matter, put them on PSN on PC, is to not have the PSN requirement, because there are 170 countries they cannot sell the game in because they don't have PSN. So you're limiting the amount of people that can buy the game, which makes no sense at all. Don't you want the most people to be able to buy the game possible? So they were starting with the release of Marvel Spider-Man 2, which apparently is not great. Has a lot of problems right now.
Bummer.
God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn remastered, Last of Us Part 2 remastered, which is releasing April 3rd, 2025. are no longer will require the PSN login. I imagine they will probably, if any older games did, they might just secretly remove it or just remove it without really making a big fuss about it.
Right.
And then what they did was they gave you bonuses for if you do have PSN and you log in.
That's what I said they should do.
Give somebody a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Because instead of locking out people from buying the game, just hey, go get you that Spider-Man 2099 black suit and the Miles Morales 2099 suit. You know,
right.
Get you some points in Last of Us Part 2 and Jordan's jacket and from Intergalactic. As a skin for Ellie, which that's cool. You know, good. Give people a reason to do that. And you know, people had to get pissed to have it removed from Helldivers 2. You know, don't need to do all that. Just give your games that come to PC good press. Obviously, they need to be good ports, which that's a problem. You know, for Spider-Man 2 right now.
So it's really telling that people are all up in arms about this, but they didn't care that much when games had that awful Games for Windows Live bullshit.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, more people are playing on PC nowadays. You know,
right.
PC is the fastest rising, you know, video games place to play.
Did you get your $2,000 5090 from Nvidia?
No, I did not. And now with these tariffs, I don't know. I planned to get a new laptop at some point this year. I don't know if that's going to raise the price of even the stuff that's not like brand new. That's
right.
Great. Speaking of older things, though, they're doing it, Mark. They're removing these 30th anniversary themes, but they're supposed to come back. So, I guess
I assume they may open just like a theme store, which they should have done at the start.
Also, not just that. I think there was problems with them. Several of them would cover up all of the art, the cover art for the actual games that you do own. They weren't as cool as they could have been, and were kind of mainly just obtrusive to the point where I just kept it on the 30th anniversary one because it's like, as much as I want to see that, it's just and hear the little bleeps and bloops and whatever. It's
I think I used the PS2 one and it was fine.
The PS3 one was cool too. I had a lot of fun memories of that. Hey, why not add in the boot animations again? I'm gonna say that it would be cool if they all had their own boot animation and give us those big memories. Yeah. So, not just the PS1, which is obviously great. Just it'd be cool if we could have all the other ones.
PSP one?
Yeah, sadly, lost the time. I did mention that there's going to be supposedly Valentine's week. There's going to be a state of play, so we'll see what they announce there.
Yep.
I imagine it's probably games we already kind of know about. There might be like one surprise there, but I don't think it's going to be that. Must be most state of plays, right? Just some things and maybe a big announcement. Maybe that's where they show more Death Stranding 2. But hey, also Capcom is doing their own spotlight tomorrow, basically, or today, whenever you're hearing this, perhaps.
And they announced another fighting game compilation.
You're gonna get to see more of Onimusha Way of the Sword, which that's cool. I want to see more of that. Street Fighter 6, apparently, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. Also, sometimes I wish they wouldn't. I get why they do it, right? They don't want people getting overly excited about what could be on there, but goodness, like give us some reason to get hyped. And then also Monster Hunter Wilds is going to have its own showcase because obviously that game is coming at the end of this month. It's the biggest game coming out this month. Capcom is hoping that they will make the money that they have not yet made so far in these quarters with Monster Hunter Wilds coming before the end of the fiscal. So
they will.
A lot writing. on
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Wilds. You think they're gonna make it for sure?
Yeah.
It's gonna sell. It's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think all the people that got into Worlds are definitely gonna come back with Wilds. Nah, for sure. Even more announcements because the inevitable has been announced. Summer Game Fest 2025 is also going to happen June 6th. 2-hour Summer Game Fest live kickoff show with Jeff Keighley at the YouTube Theater. That's no duh. They are going to have that Play Days thing for the media from June 7th to the 9th in downtown LA. But now this year they've added a business to business event curated by former games industry biz boss Christopher Dring, the big journalist there for them. Okay, that's cool. We're slowly morphing it into a kind of E3 thing. You think we'll get some like surprise announcements out of the thing that some companies met that wouldn't meet otherwise, because that's what happened at E3. I think we're gonna get something like that, or this is just Jeff Keighley trying to slowly make this into E3.
That maybe we'll finally get some hot, Queen or Square and CD Projekt Red, Queen's Blood, and
Gwen,
whatever the stupid cards game from
Gwen.
Gwen. Yeah, crossover.
Yeah, why not? Since the ESA said that they're not going to bring back E3, why not?
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that ESA did actually speak for that tariffs thing. They said that it's going to cause problems with the industry. Obviously, yeah, because it's going to have to make everybody raise prices. It makes sense. Hurts their publishers that they're all representing, so makes sense there.
If only there was a tariff on golf clubs and tanning solution.
Multiverses is finally going down, Mark. Season 5 will be the last one. It's going till like May 30th, and then that's it.
Yep.
Of course, people are, and I think they rightly have a reason to be upset with the Founders Pack thing. Like, you promised certain characters in that thing that never came, and they paid for that. So I understand that in a way of being upset, but as always gets brought up, and whoever brought this up also, I think one of the devs said that if you're going to start threatening us, then
I think it was
crossing
like
the line,
director or something. Yeah. Get a refund and move on, or argue it with Sony or Steam or Xbox, and you can probably not get a full refund, but maybe a partial one.
Yeah.
I did download it on actually PC and Steam, or PC and PS3, or PS5, not PS3. Just to have, because when they do yank it, it's not.
Yeah, because they said
good.
it's going to get delisted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. And the fact that like your starting character is fucking Shaggy, like, makes it not good.
It was novel in its moment to have Shaggy be because you're supposed to have more characters aside from that, right? Like, you're gonna have all these cool characters that you actually want to play as
that are all locked.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is like you should have done what Marvel Heroes did back in the day, and like give you like, it has a tutorial, so it's like, okay, make the tutorial longer and like have you cycle through a few different characters,
right?
Like Shaggy, Joker, whatever, and then give you like one chit or one credit, be like, okay, pick, like, you can pick whoever you want as your starting character, not have it be Shaggy, like.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Yeah, I think that thing is always kind of doomed to fail. Even without, Smash Brothers obviously doesn't help, but there's a game with double, if not triple, the damn roster that has better mechanics. Yo, what are you gonna? How do you compete with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing was on the wall when they yanked it
the first time.
Like, yeah, it didn't come back to saying people were mad.
They yanked it, and then they brought it back, and then people were complaining it wasn't as good as back then. It's like, that's not great. Like that's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
You imagine if Final
it's
Fantasy
not
14
great.
did that. Here's a shitty game. We're gonna pull it, and it'll come back a year later. Now it's more shitty. It's like no, like
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what because they had to put more monetization stuff in there.
yeah.
They, uh,
I'd have been, at that point, I'd have been happy just paying $30 or $60 and doing all that bullshit. But that's always my take on something like that.
it just it's. I mean, Warner Brothers in there, their greed was trying to make everything live service, and we know how that's turned out. We talked about that a million times. I feel like,
Yeah,
but they're suffering for it. Hopefully, all of these failures will get them to look. I get everything can't be single player, but like tone it down, understand what works and what doesn't for these franchises that you do want to keep around, and stop trying to make them into things that they're not.
right.
Um, so moving on from that here, also forgot to mention that MLB The Show is not going to be on Game Pass this year. I think that was a 3-year deal. It has now ended. I guess MLB feels like it does well enough on its own that it doesn't need Game Pass, or probably also Microsoft didn't want to pay money
Right.
to have it on there. So now you got to buy MLB The Show on Xbox. They're going to lose a lot of players, obviously, because a lot of people would try it out because
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Now you're going to have less people playing, but maybe more people on Xbox will actually pay the $70 now to own it and whatever that they
Yeah,
do on
that'll happen.
PlayStation. Yeah, probably not. A lot. Not that they don't buy any, but there's just certain games that they buy, and just it is what it is.
Yep.
GDC Awards got announced.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through this whole list. Their game of the year is pretty much the ones you would think. Astrobot Balatro, Black with Wukong, Hollow Divers 2, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and Meta 4 Refantasio. So yeah, we'll see who wins when they finally announce all this stuff. But again, just unfortunate. Like theirs tend to kind of reflect more. It's the game developers, so
Right.
they kind of do tend to like move around differently from what Game Awards or some other ones, the outlet ones do. Especially because it's like a lot of Astrobot and Black with Wukong in here.
Yep.
So we'll see what ends up winning. Also, did you see the cover art for this Dan Houser's Absurd Ventures thing?
Just like the
This,
picture, and
the picture. Yeah,
I don't really care because I don't think it'll necessarily happen.
yeah. They want to make basically like a multi venture strategy here of having like an animated show. It seems like with these characters, some of them look like GTA
Yeah.
characters, obviously.
It worked well for that Section 9 thing, or whatever the hell it was just called. That thing that
The
was bombed, Universe 9,
right,
or
yeah,
we were making fun of it last time.
yeah, the Bandai Namco thing.
Yeah.
Hey, if anybody understands that a bit more, I would say Dan Houser has a bit more going on with that than I would say like Bandai Namco would. Bandai Namco knows on the anime side,
Right.
but aside from that, and then even then, right? They know anime well, but they keep making all these like arena fighters that don't do well.
Yeah.
So it's like I just don't get it where that goes. But I mean, with the different characters that they showed off in this thing, at least you know there's varied enough in here that I could see it. Like they could have some weird show with this, I guess.
Right.
That
Well,
would work.
let's just briefly talk about the adaptations because I got to get going because Young Blood's
Yeah,
Summer
yeah. Go
Sniper.
ahead.
But yeah, you mentioned, or whatever. What's
Well, so there's 3 of them.
yeah,
Beyond Two Souls is getting it's actually Elliot Page
yeah.
has returned to
I don't.
I'm sorry, Elliot
Yeah,
Page, he got the rights for this. Elliot Page was different in a different state
right.
during they were filming this, and also it's weird because like I guess in a way it's like okay, you get to bring that trauma back to this, and perhaps doing the series will help the acting and all that with bringing that trauma back. But it's like Elliot Page doesn't seem to have. It's like there was more negative stuff being said about behind the scenes for this than positive, from
Yeah,
what I
but the
remember.
studios. I mean, they're not Quantum Dream's
Yeah,
not making the movie, so
yeah, I
probably.
guess.
And I also don't think they'll star in the movie either. So
Yeah, I- you
that
know, do you think that this has? I mean, Last of Us basically took The Last of Us and put it into a TV show. Do you think that like essentially taking a lot of basically the game and putting that into a movie, do you think that that will work or
it could. I mean, I still think you get like Willem Dafoe, but I don't think uh for a few different reasons now, Elliot Page will be able to play a teenage girl on the run.
yeah. So do they get somebody else to um
What's uh what's the girl from The Last of Us doing these days?
Bella, yeah, was she yeah. Maybe?
uh no,
Maybe
the other
they get her to do it?
yeah, the other one well, you can talk about Sleeping Dogs and I'll talk about Expedition 33.
Yeah, Expedition 33 is or Sleeping Dogs. So it's funny because right before we are gonna do the show last week, there was rumors going around about Sleeping Dogs being dead. Donnie Yen had basically said that I spent 8 years doing everything for this movie, like talking with producers, putting in my own money, doing drafts, getting the rights, whatever. This is dead.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, like it seems like not too long after, Simi Liu basically just goes, no, no, no. I'm still working to get it to actually exist. And then he also wants there to be a Sleeping Dog too, which I think a lot of people that like Sleeping Dogs would love for that to be the
I
case.
think I mean I think maybe it could happen. I think the problem is well he mentions like oh people want him to maybe like, star in the movie, but he's like, no, I want Will Young Lee to do it. And it's like, yo, he's kind of old. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think he can pull off 30-year-old man anymore. I mean, or I think like the guy in Seven Dogs might even supposed to be like younger technically.
yeah,
So
he
it's like
is.
I don't see how that's gonna work necessarily, but sure,
I feel like he's got to have some kind of, even if it's a small role, he's like got to be in there somewhere
he could be like the
where
sensei or yeah
they can
or
promote that he's in it because
yeah.
he'll bring people
Uh,
to the movie.
I'll bring up the Expedition 33 one because it got the it was like uh Story Kitchen is supposed to be making it,
Yeah, exactly. Star
and they're the
Kitchen, huh?
producers of Sonic, and they're doing that Tomb Raider thing. But the thing that broke me a little was this was like a PC Gamer article that I saw was like the tagline is from the folks behind the Tomb Raider and Just Cause adaptations. And my hand raised, and I was like, "What Just Cause adaptation?
Yeah,
Like
nobody
that
remembers
that
that,
that that never came out. Like that never got made."
and then
And so
Tomb Raider was fine, but
no, it's bad.
yeah.
Or it was marginally better than like the Angelina Jolie ones, but
I don't
you know,
know. A lot of people still like those Angelina Jolie ones.
a lot of people like her. That's the
Yeah,
thing. They don't like them. They don't like the movie. They just like her.
yeah.
But see, I hate these like stupid oh, we got the rights to this thing, or my comment on the article is, yeah, wasn't that Metal Gear Solid
And
adaptation
I
so
think
great?
they're trying to time it to where like it's gonna come like not that far. It's like still gonna kind of try to come this year also. Like it's like
That's
okay,
way too soon, and that ain't gonna happen.
it's like okay. I mean, look, I'm
Oh,
fine with it. Like maybe announce it after the game's been out, and let's see how it does before we just
well, they're banking on it being a good story, so it's like you
yeah
better hope that.
yeah. I mean, it does have cinematic qualities to it. When I look, when they keep showing it, it does feel like something that could have been a movie,
Yeah,
right? So I could see it, and I mean, Story Kitchen doing it, it's fine. Also, you know, kudos to them and everybody with Sonic. Sonic 3 broke the record,
right.
Detective Pikachu's record.
Yep.
They're now firmly the second highest selling box office draw for video game movies. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the interesting tale of more video game movie adaptations this week. I feel like
Yep.
that has been it. Also, just really quick, because you know we end it with the same thing every week. Big game this week coming out tomorrow or coming out in about an hour. Kino Deliverance 2. It's
Yep.
getting really good reviews.
Yep.
So you
Not
know,
from you, but
yeah. People that I've reviewed it are liking it. Said Rift and Necrodancer, Big Human Heroes both coming out. Also, go check out Rift and Necrodancer for sure. I think that's kind of it for this week.
yep.
Also, Sid Meier's Civ 7 also has reviews out, and they're really great too. So I'm sure that's you already asking for that code already, or
Yeah, I asked Adam. I don't know if it'll get it or not, but we'll see. Hopefully.
all right. So that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you everybody for watching, listening. We'll see y'all later.
Later.
Until next time. Bye.
Later.